literally anyone with a telephone or a television. That's all that matters.
So democracy's come to the end is what you're saying.
We will continue to have elections. We'll continue to go through it, but it's increasingly a ghost dance. It's increasingly a dead form of something that actually doesn't impact our society. Are you familiar with the ghost dance?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So
one of the saddest stories in American history. Really.
Yeah, this is how you got the massacre.
Can you tell it?
Sure, of course. There was this idea, of course, for many Indian tribes that they were communing with spirits when they went through a particular dance, that this was going to bring the power of their ancestors and there was going to help them to reclaim their land. And
this was at the end of the Indian Wars. This is after they've lost.
Yeah, this is after the Indians had lost the majority, had been forced on reservations, continually over and over again. But the idea is they could reconnect with the spirit of their society by going through this ritual, and their ancestors would protect them. And they actually all gathered together, mainly the Lakota tribe. And when the U.S. Army was sent to respond to this gathering, they performed the ghost dance, thinking that this would protect them from the bullets of the soldiers. And instead, you got the massacre at Wounded Knee. And this is in many ways what we are doing with liberal democracy now. We keep going through the motions. There's a democracy. We vote. We do this, and this will change society. This will fundamentally change the way things work. But over and over, we just keep running into these hail of bullets, because the thing we're using, the power that we're trying to leverage, the power of the republic that existed at the founding, it's no longer connected to the actual rules here. We're people turning a steering wheel or mashing a gas pedal on a car without an engine. And at this point, the question of the Trump administration is, can you make America work like a republic again? Is that even possible anymore? I think they're trying. I think they're actually trying by stripping away much of the bureaucracy, attempting to take direct action whenever possible to improve the lives of Americans. But they're running into every possible barrier you could imagine, legal, cultural, everything. And so I think that they're going to have to overcome a massive barrier if they want to attempt to return us to that system. And I'm not sure that they can.
So if democracy is as kind of desiccated and useless and fake as you described, then nothing that fake can last. It's going to be replaced by a new system. What will that system be, and what will we call it?
There's a lot of people, and I think there's probably some truth to this, who think that we're all converging on the Chinese system. That ultimately the thing that allows for hegemons to operate globe spanning, or at least large regional powers to operate at the scale we're looking at in an advanced society like our own, is a kind of soft totalitarianism.
Requires it,
right,
is what you're saying. You can't actually run a country this big unless you're totalitarian.
This is a systems issue. And again, we like to, some things are virtue issues, some things are principle issues, but some things are just system issues.
Can you describe what that means?
When we're looking at different political forms, they have limitations. And like we said, with the Republic, in the Republican tradition, everyone from Aristotle to our founding fathers recognized that scale is an issue. And that if you try to run your large empire as a republic, you're going to run into issues very quickly. It's going to start to come apart. The same is true when we get to these vast empires. They have to be run in a specific way. If you want to control the opinions of people, if you want to leverage popular opinion and a particular understanding, if you want to use the economies of scale that you need in those type of societies, there's only so many ways you can operate, and one of them is the Chinese system, and that seems to be one of the most successful ones at this time. Again, I wouldn't want to live under it. It's not our way of being, but it is one that our global elites seem to be settling on as the model.
Of course. Where your prison is invisible but no less real.
Yeah. You don't have to take anyone to the gulag. They just can't get a job or a house or a wife. We don't need to put people in concentration camps anymore. You still might, but you don't need to do that anymore to be tyrannical. We can debank you. We can ensure that no one can ever hear your voice again, that you're never allowed in polite society, that there's a camera watching you 24/7 that will destroy your life if you step off the reservation. We don't need the trains anymore.
What's interesting is that everybody seems on board with this in our leadership class. Like you imagine the Republicans get in power and they'll make it absolutely impossible for digital currency to become real, central bank digital currency. They're already taking steps. Republicans in Congress laying the groundwork, the basis for that now. So is there any escape from it?
Not for a while. And I think this is also why we see all of our governments rushing towards artificial intelligence as well, right? Because this is another way to manage populations in a vast society. Algorithms that can constantly screen everything you're doing and everything you're saying and every opinion that you have and every piece of media you consume and what library books, if you're even checking out a library book at this point, if that even exists. Like these are things that are all critical, and AI can do these tasks at scale at a high level of rapidity. And so I think that all of our technology is increasingly, a lot of people have said that American technological revolution will free us from this. But honestly, every piece of technology that, as we understand it right now, is most usefully deployed by the regime as a way to control people, as a way to exert their power.
Well, I don't think anyone's pretending otherwise. For all the talk of how, AI is going to change the future, which clearly it will, there's almost no description of the upside for the average person. Like no one even bothers to tell the guy making $100,000 a year how this is going to make his life better.
Yeah, and it's even worse because it starts abstracting away people's understanding of reality. Your epistemology is fundamentally broken when you rely on an AI search engine to bring you the truth. And as somebody who was teaching high school not that long ago, I've already seen it with just the dumber versions of Google. No children have any context for any decision they're making. They don't, again, as we talked about, they don't have a link to history. They don't have a link to tradition. They don't have religion that informs anything. All the knowledge they have is what's delivered to them digitally in that search. That's what they believe to be authoritative in every area. And so when you see that over and over again, you realize the individual is going to have no decision-making power because they don't even have organic experiences in real life to draw knowledge from. All they have is the digital world that's been served to them through AI.
So if you're older like me, you imagine censorship as the threat to speech, right? So there are all kinds of things that are true that are being said now on the internet right now that are like an actual threat to the way things are. So they have to be shut down. I mean, I'm just operating in that assumption. And they will be shut down, but they won't be censored. They'll be overwhelmed by AI. That's my guess.
One of the things you can do is just flood the zone. You can flood the signal so that there's no way to pick out the truth from the vast amount of information that's flowing over you, or you can curate the environment properly through AI on a consistent basis to where people don't even realize that the environment's being curated in the first place. Either way, as you say, you don't have to do hard censorship. The information's out there somewhere if you're one of those radical extremists who is thinking for yourself and looking into any of this stuff. But for the vast majority of people who are never going to put that kind of effort into it, that's not the way they're going to see the world. That's not how they're going to receive information.
So to the form of government we're getting, you believe it's most likely we wind up with some kind of Chinese form of government where there's a president and a legislative body, but underneath it all, the regime maintains power through technology, a social credit system of some sort, where you do the will of the regime, where you just can't live. You don't get executed, but no one would choose that. Only 0.1% of the population really rebels against you. And then the really bad ones you kill, but the rest you just let live in obscurity.
I mean, I don't think that's coming. I think that's here, right? How does that not describe the society we have currently where people are regularly debanked, where they do have their entire lives destroyed by the social credit system on a regular basis? We haven't formalized many of these things in the United States yet, but we've been building this type of soft power for generations. It's very clear that this is how our oligarchy intends to rule us and does rule us on a regular basis. Again, I don't think it's as severe as it is in China. I think we have more time before we get past the point of no return. But I think we're well into our era of being ruled by this kind of technocratic